Hi everyone, thank you for joining me. So the 48-hour marathon build is over. It finished about 2:30 yesterday, and I thought I would do a final reveal. What I'm going to do is just show you the three kits that I managed to complete, and although I say that they're complete, they are at a stage that I'm happy with at this point. But what I will do is possibly revisit them and just do some touch up on the weathering. I also intend to try and make dioramas for each of them as well. So these are the three kits that I managed to complete. We've got the vintage classic Airfix 176 scale duck, the MR Mark A Whippy from World War One, and that's 1/72 scale, and then the MR A7V Sturmpanzer from World War One, which is also 1/72. So I'll get them over to the mini photo booth I've got, and we'll have a look at them. Okay guys, so this is the first one. As you can tell, it's the duck. Really pleased with the way that the green came out on this one. It's both the British Olive Drab 4445 from AK and also the green paint that I used from Games Workshop for the canvas cover, but I can't quite remember which one that was. The usual thing, and I did this with all the builds. Once it was painted, I gave it gloss coat, then I added the decals, then I used some of that decal solution from MIG Ammo, which didn't work too bad on these. Then I sealed them in, then I gave it a sludge wash of black, and then I wiped most of that off, and then I started highlighting the raised areas, going back with the olive drab, and also highlighting it slightly to just give it a slight variation in the colour below. Of course, just adding the olive drab raises the colour because you haven't got the sludge wash all over it. So no problems with this kit at all, went together really well. The only issue I had was painting the windshield. The paint didn't want to stick to it basically. I think I should have clear coated it first before attempting to paint it. So really happy with this, and as I say, I hope to do a small dio, probably with this one just sat on a beach. There was a photo I saw and I've seen it regularly, but I can't find it at the moment, and it was like a duck that was on one of the beaches in Normandy, and there was unfortunately a dead soldier that was adjacent to it. But it just looked quite striking. This vehicle just sat there in the middle of this beach. So that's the first one. So here's the last one that I completed, and as you can see, it's the Whippy from World War One. Really enjoyed putting this together. No issues with the build itself. If you recall, I painted this one the same olive drab, but what I did then was I went over with Games Workshop's sepia seraphim, and I painted that on, but I was wiping it off at the same time, so it didn't really collect anywhere. I just wanted it to tint the green that I'd put on with a brown to move away from that initial colour. The red and white stripes, you may recall, are painted on. I didn't want to use the decals because large decals like this going over rivets, they don't always sit very well, even with the aggressive decal solution that I'm using, so I decided to paint them instead. The tracks were painted a grey from Games Workshop. I think it was Celestial Grey or something like that, because I wanted to aim more towards that magnesium kind of colour rather than the black or the silver sometimes that you can get. Once the decals were on, the sludge wash was put on and wiped off. What I did was I went back with the olive drab, the British olive drab, and I basically I didn't brush it onto the centre of the panels. I kind of dabbed it on to the centre of the panels to just highlight them a bit, and I think it worked quite nicely. And then I used it again to highlight some of the vents and things like that. The exhausts on both sides were painted with Doomball Brown initially, and then I got some of Games Workshop's Riser Dust, Rise of Rust, I think it is, which is a very orange paint, and I thinned that down, mixed it with some of the Doomball Brown, stippled that on to the exhaust, and then I basically did a lighter colour using the same two colours and stippled that on a bit less to try and give the impression of the exhaust. Really happy with the way this has turned out, and of course I'll be doing a dio base for this. It possibly won't be like a battlefield scene like the one I've got for the tadpole from MHAR that I showed you last year. It'll be perhaps just a country track or something leading to or from the battlefield. The other thing I need to do on this one is I need to do some chipping. I want to just do a bit of chipping on this to show that it's been dinked here and there. So let's move on to the final one. Okay, so this is the final build I did in the 48-hour period, and I've got to admit I think this is my favourite one out of the three. The shape of the vehicle didn't lend itself well to going together. I tried my best, and I thought I'd filled some of the gaps, but I can see some now, and you probably can on camera, but there we go. Once the kit was built, I sprayed it black, and then I painted it all Panzer Grey, because it was very similar to the colour call out they were suggesting. The brown patches, I can't recall what I used for that. I don't know whether it was a Games Workshop paint, I believe. It may have been Scrag Brown. It was a lighter brown, but when I put the black wash all over it, it tones it down, which I wanted it to do. So again, once the brown splodges were done, clear coat, decals on, clear coated to seal them in, black wash all over, wiped it off. Then I think the last thing that I did on this one that I hadn't shown is I've done some pastels, brown pastels on the road wheel tracks and also the lower part of the tank. Oh, and the other thing I did was the exhaust on this as well, in a similar manner that I did for the Whippy. I think I need to just go back in on the exhaust for this and just add a bit more lighter coloured rust. I definitely want to go back and also do some of the dinks and scratches on this one. You know, the Panzer Grey lends itself well to doing that. So I'll do lighter tones of the Panzer Grey in, you know, little scratches and so on, and then something a bit lighter perhaps, and then in some of them do the brown for the undercoat, the primer for the vehicle, and then in some of those do a little bit of metal showing through or rust. Again, I want to do a dio for this one, and it will probably be again just a simple track leading to or from the front, as opposed to a battlefield scene. What I might do, if I can get my hands on them, is do some late World War I German soldiers with this one. I may leave the Whippy by itself, but I think I'd like to put some figures with this one. So that's basically it, guys. I had a really good time, although it was a 48-hour marathon. Of course, it wasn't 48 hours because you have to sleep and you have to prepare food and whatever. So it was more like 30 hours. And I've got to be honest, after the 30 hours, even then I was taking breaks and watching TV with my son. I got to admit, after the 30 hours, it's just like, yeah, I've done enough now. That's that's it. I didn't do anything, I think, last night apart from paint the exhaust on the Whippy. But today, Sunday, I'm wanting to get back in and you know, finish off all the weathering on these, and so I'm looking forward to doing that. I also want to finish the Panzer II that I showed you prior to this. I won't get the storage done for finish it up February. There's just no way I can get that done now, but anyway, that's the way it is. I want to say thank you for all the nice comments that you guys gave me on the run up and to this finale, you know, all the updates I gave. You know, really appreciate the support and kind words. Thanks ever so much for watching, guys. I hope your Sunday's going well, and I'll catch up with you soon.